Hey everybody, thanks for tuning in to episode 5 of Jake's Existential Kitchen. Brought to you by the present moment here in a parking lot once again. Today's episode is a special one, as they all are, which is so cool to me. I feel very grateful to have these experiences and to be able to share them. But today's guest, Godzhai, is a really cool person, very thoughtful and very smart and very creative. How this podcast episode came to happen was our friend Lord Princess was playing music here in town, and Godzhai was there. That they had not met yet, but Godzhai was standing across the way, listening. Listen. And so Godzhai was listening to Lord Princess play music, and Lord Princess noticed the design on the front of Godzhai's shirt, and so they wound up talking to each other, and turns out Godzhai had designed the graphic on his own shirt, and so they got to talking about all sorts of stuff. I don't really know, I wasn't there, but when I was hanging out with LP after, he told me they met this really cool, really smart person, really interesting, and that we should do a podcast together, and that he had told Godzhai that we should all do a podcast together and sit down one day. And I was just like, yeah, cool, this is awesome, you know. I'm super grateful, and you know, I feel honored to be involved and included in this way, and to then be able to share it all with y'all, and to include y'all in our conversational explorations of our thoughts and feelings, and you know, whatever else winds up happening. Thank you for directing your attention our way. Episode 5 of Jake's Existential Kitchen, Godzhai and Lord Princess. Thanks for listening. Well, welcome everybody. I'm here with Lord Princess and Godzhai.
Thank you, Jake.
Yeah. Thanks for bringing us here.
Yeah. So a download, as I just was like referring to it as, how I've experienced it is just like somebody thinks they've got some like crystallized nugget of information, and they're just gonna like force you to look at it and show you all the different angles of it, because they've figured it out, and they're just like, okay, I've got something to tell you, there's something to show you, and and it's just like there's no stopping it,
and there's neither give and take.
No.
And it's unsolicited interaction. I was calling it bullying in some sort of sense.
Yeah, it kind of was bullying, but then in that particular instance, which for those of you who are listening to this after the fact, was just approached and like by somebody in the park, and to me it was clear in their eyes. I was just like looking at them, and I was just like, yeah, I'm not gonna rock this person's boat. I'm just like, I've got my guitar in between us, you know. And it was just kind of like, I've gotten pretty good at like slipping away from people like that.
I fled.
Yeah, I know.
I immediately fled.
Just boogied. I was on the ground on my stuff. I didn't even have my shoes on. I was just like, it was just a mistake, rookie mistake.
For me, I'm working with boundaries and trying to keep that. And I was like, well, this person obviously just wasn't like, do you want to hear about this? It was just like, hey, here.
Yeah.
This is a gift for you, and you better take it or else.
Yeah, it's a hard space to be, you know, because it's just like, this person's insane. Like, I don't want any of this, you know, or maybe not like totally insane, but just like, oh, there's some sort of level of like, I don't know, totally like, there's no way of like knowing where, you know, it's somebody might like be at in a certain scenario, and you're just kind of like, oh. But anyways, Godzhai.
Yeah.
Can you tell me about your name?
Yeah.
Godzhai?
Yeah. So, during, let's see, it would have been 2 summers ago, I was just having a time of great growth, really. Going into the summer, I was looking around, kind of just like seeing the like synchronicities in life, kind of a thing. And I just started feeling this like connection to it all. And then like one day, under certain influences, I was watching a video, and it just like made everything click to me, to like the dimensionality of everything and how everything's just like so interwoven, interconnected.
Out of curiosity, Godzhai, would you be willing to share those influences?
Yeah, I was just really high on marijuana.
Nice cutaways. What kind of guitar is it?
Huh?
The guitar.
Oh, it's an Alvarez.
Nice. Very nice. Yeah, those make great guitars.
Pretty cool.
Yeah, sweet. All right.
Cool. Yeah, so I was just really in my mind kind of a thing. And I was with my friends, and we were just watching this video. And the first time we watched it, I was at the end of the video. I was like, there was something there in this like animated music video. I want to watch this again at another point. And when I did, I saw it, and it just like really just like went through how like kind of like parallel universe kind of stuff, just like everything's living within itself kind of a thing. And it was like for the next 10-15 minutes, I was literally just like trying to speak, but I just words couldn't come out, because I was just like so baffled by like this realization of like how deep this connection that I'd been like talking about, and been like, oh, the connection, haha, like, and then I was like, oh, the connection whoa,
too.
Just everything and all. Just, I was calling it the connection for a long time.
Do you think you hadn't experienced that before?
I was definitely I was experiencing small little things that I was like, oh, like we literally like just like we're sharing the same thought. We literally think the same thing, like, or like something happened, and like, you know, it was just like it had happened before kind of a thing. And I was like, oh, that's cool. Like that's like there's something going on there. But then when I like saw this video, I was just like, it really just put me in a like place of kind of everything is so small, but everything is so big. Like it's just like a kind of like a spider web. Like everything is just, life is a spider web, and everything's connected. And that's kind of, I know you asked about my name, but I guess this is going a different direction.
Like you're saying it though, everything is interconnected.
Yeah.
So
that I'm wearing a sweatshirt here that I printed that has it says connected on it.
Can I describe it?
Yeah, go ahead.
Sure. I really before I describe it, how did you print it? What was the process that you used?
It was a linoleum block, and I carved it, and then just inked ink and straight onto the sweatshirt.
Mm-hmm.
Really?
Yeah.
That's awesome.
It's super cool.
And so I see, I see below, I see the letters, I see written connected in that print, and then I see the profile, side profile of of a head, and it's a face, but you can't tell what gender or who it is, or even you don't see the outside. You can't. It's not someone who's white, Asian, but you couldn't tell. It could be anybody, but it's definitely a human being.
Yeah.
And so in there, you see, like, in the center of it, there's a brain, but the brain reminds me of, like, it has stars within it, and also trees growing out.
Yeah.
And all those, I don't know if they're like blood vessels,
veins or roots.
Veins
like
or
roots.
Yeah, roots and veins within this face.
Yeah.
And when I saw that, I was like, wow, that's really beautiful, because it points to our interdependence with life.
Yeah.
And tell me, what led to you choosing that design? What gave you that inspiration?
So like I said, this was during the summer that I had this whole my mind was just fully just connected to everything. I started seeing synchronicities and everything. I was just super happy with this realization and just connection to the connection kind of a thing.
Meta connection,
yeah. But then I went back to school and I was doing a lot of art. I do a lot of pottery. But me and my friends were starting to do trying to do other forms of art. So I took up block printing. And one of the things that I really wanted to make a print of was this representation of the connection. But it was something that was a massive thought, and I was trying to figure out how can I portray this huge thought in a 2D image kind of a thing. And so it took me quite a bit of time to finally figure it out. It started out as a spider web, pointing spider web connecting to all these different the brain, stars, all the same things that are in this now. But it just didn't really. It wasn't the representation I liked. It was a representation of it, but it wasn't how I wanted to portray the connection. So I kept on working at it and kept on trying to mess around with different things, and then I came to the idea of everything, because that's the idea. Is everything is within itself. So a brain within a brain, within within the body kind of a thing. And the brain has stars in it, and then the second brain has trees, and and it turns the first brain into kind of a sun, and so it kind of just to me it just was a way of it really just I was able to when I made the print, and still to this day I am so incredibly proud of this print, and I walk around feeling a total badass, because I just feel it's something that I was able to actually turn thoughts into a visual form, in one that I really think expresses my thoughts. And like LP said, he saw it at the farmer's market, and we kind of just instantly connected over just kind of seeing each other. He was playing the banjo, and it was rocking my world. It was crazy how awesome it was. But yeah, so I ended up just playing around with the different things, and the roots are kind of really big to me as well, because I feel the roots of everything, roots are in everything. There's roots to everything, and at the end of each root is kind of a life, is the idea, and so I just feel this portrayed exactly what I was going for in it. And it's just the connection to all, and the connection to nature, and nature's connection to humans, and the brain, which is a really amazing thing, I'd say.
I'd agree. When was the first time you think you felt that?
The
It's that connection.
I definitely felt it like many times before. Like I said, going into that summer, I was feeling a special thing going on within this world. But the video I watched really like it I went from like realizing it and seeing it to like being a part of it, and that was like a really crazy experience. And since then, I've been growing in a way that I am super happy to be growing, and that's like in a way of deconnection to our universe and our planets and our system, solar system, just our system in general, and it's pretty amazing. Yeah.
So looking at that, it seems like you're initially saying it was an ineffable experience.
Yeah.
Like you couldn't put it into words right
Yeah,
away. You
I couldn't.
couldn't describe it. You knew connected was a thing, but, and this image, it captivated me.
Yeah.
Because it's an experience that I can experience, and I often experience it most when I'm in a mode that's not completely discursive. Of course, I can describe what's happening, but it's usually your mind.
It's within yourself.
But not just in it's beyond it is in
myself.
myself,
Yeah.
but it's also an expansive feeling of self. And also a feeling of self that isn't as walled off, that seeing yourself as a threshold that connects us, to this world we live in. Obviously, the soil, we're standing on the ground, and the food we eat has to come from the soil, and the stars, and the sun that warms everything. And I think, I might be superimposing my idea here, but have you felt, are there places that you felt disconnected? Because I know I have at times, or maybe ideas that allow for disconnection. And for me, I very often feel that the dominant culture facilitates more disconnection, more of a sense of separateness. Yet, I'm a little older than you, yet I see so many young people now who are really feeling like, hey, we need to honor this connection, honor this earth, the stars, and live in a way that reflects that. But there was something in you that said, hey, I need to express that to people. It's like and you went through that process. So I'd be curious I'm also curious, to go back to the original question. Are there ways in which you would feel disconnected, or situations which would lead to that? I know it's sometimes if you feel comfortable.
Yeah, no, for sure. I totally have, like right now, especially like during COVID, and also I finished my when COVID first started, I was finishing my second year of college, and then COVID happened, and I was like, I don't really want to pay full tuition to do these online classes, which was like $20,000 for an online, like for a semester of online classes. I was like, that's just absolutely crazy. So I started doing classes here at SBCC, just online also, but like, $500 as opposed to $20,000, and the teachers are amazing. But the disconnection that I'm seeing is, I kind of dread going back to school. Not entirely. Like, I realize that there's benefits that will come from it. However, I right now I just kind of want to explore the connection kind of thing. I want to be a part of it all. Whereas I feel like college is just a very structured and systematic entity, really. Like, it's literally just like the school I was going to, the classes were like anywhere from like 100 to 300 people, and the teachers didn't really care about us, and like it was just like, here, we're gonna make these tests that are absolutely like crazy hard, so that you have like no time to like live life, and then you feel shitty about yourself. And it was just not a great experience, honestly. And it was making me feel like what's the like point of doing this when like this gesturing to everything.
We're outside in a beautiful
outside
park.
in a beautiful park.
Yeah.
It's just, you know, it's just there, and we have this amazing home that we don't really treat as an amazing home. Like we this is something I've been thinking about a lot. I'm changing the course just a little bit, but this is something that's been in my mind a lot recently. Is like humankind really like worships ourselves as being like the most amazing species kind of a thing, and we're like, oh, all other like we probably don't even, a lot of people probably don't even consider ourselves animals, and I'm just like, we like plants and all of the other animals are just such insanely beautiful and crazy pieces of existence, and the fact that we're treating them with like such shittiness is really, really gross to me. And I just think it's really awesome that we have like such amazing things, and like evolution has led to us, but evolution has also led to a bunch of other really crazy things that we can't even begin to imagine. And so I'm just like, I just want to go out and experience as much as I possibly can, because right now this is like part of the disconnection is everything's being turned kind of like very consumerist. We're just consume. Don't like take a second to think about what we're consuming, and we're consuming our home, and that's a very scary thought to me, because even though we realize we're doing shitty just like killing our planet, killing our home, we're not really doing much about it, like as a society, as like the society part of it at least. And that's where I see a massive disconnection between humankind and nature.
Yes. Yeah, I feel you completely.
Yeah. What do you think could be done? Do you have any ideas?
Something.
That's a big
I mean,
question.
yeah. I was really during the start of COVID, and still now, I've been really thinking a lot about evolution. And one of the things that I said, which is like, you know, way not really possible kind of a thing, but like it would be really cool to see, is if humankind evolved to not be selfish. That's a huge evolution. That's never happened anywhere in any other species, maybe besides like trees and mycelium and stuff like that. But I think if we were able to, you know, like realize we have such an abundance of everything, and we're able to take a step back from just get an extra dollar, get all this money, accumulate this money, like for what purpose kind of a thing. That would just be like a really cool evolutionary change to see. It's not something that just would click, but you know what I was thinking was like just similar to the way how like that video made something click inside of me. It would be really cool to see more and more people like kind of being more and more present, and then having similar things happen to them that leads them to experience like the same thing. Because like talking to LP and other people just like about like these thoughts that I thought were like original to myself, because like it was just like things that I had thought about, I hadn't like had really many people to express them to, and when I did try to express them, people were just like look at me weirdly kind of a thing. But then I meet like other people who are like, when I say the things, they look at me with understanding, and they like know what I'm talking about, and I'm like, wow, that's just really beautiful that like this is just like the collective mind, the connected mind, the connection, like the entity of everything kind of a thing, which is really, really cool to see.
Yeah, and I see you with just what I can see right now,
Yeah.
the shirt and the image and the symbolism within that is it's like a part of what you're putting into the pool of possibility for that switch to be turned in, or flipped in others, and,
Yeah. Yeah, I try to show people like that same video that was like crazy to me. I try to show to other people. It's really funny. The name is Source by Fever the Ghost, and it was animated by Felix Colgrave. And it was really funny to me also because like months later I looked back on this video and I was like, I've watched that video like more than any other video. I just like keep on watching and like delving deeper and deeper into the video. But it's funny looking back and seeing the name is Source, because then I'm like, wow, that was like the source. That's where like everything had begun for me, and it's really cool that like I start to think like the animator may have intentionally done it the same way where like I tried to make a piece of art to show people a visual experience. The artist probably did the exact same, like he did do the exact same thing but with an animation, and was able to like awaken something within me with his art, which is like such a amazing thing to have, like just crazy and awesome, and just like that's hugely successful, I'd say, with him. Like he just really did he did magic pretty much. Like that's amazing.
And it's a give and take. He inspired you.
Yeah.
And then when I was playing, you were like, whoa, what is going on here? Then I saw that and I was like, wow, wait, we're saying we're connecting on those same ideas. And to go back to what you were saying, and you were asking what can we do, it is in a way very daunting because we are living through the 6th great mass extinction.
Yeah.
I just read something about a load of freshwater fish, dying. The birds are dying.
Oh God.
And we're, you were saying, could humankind evolve? There's part of me that wants to be devil's advocate and saying humankind, it's like maybe we already have all the things in us we already need. Maybe there was a cultural disconnection. Maybe there was there's a elevation of values of dominance.
Yeah.
And an idea of a separate self, one that, so like you're saying, we're seeing kinship with life, with everything that is here, and developing those relationships from down here on the earth, down here where we truly are. As an anthropologist whose idea I really like, Ada Bird Wolf, I think I might be butchering the name. It was like Us Relatives was the name of the book, but it was a study of foraging societies in South Asia, and they always lived with this sense of pluripresence with everything. Mm-hmm. So even in the way that they spoke, that they lived, how people treated each other, it wasn't just the people and our own self-interest and our interest towards capital, our interest toward accumulation, or the idea of progress.
Yeah.
It was, hey, these crows are my family.
Yeah.
We have kinship with that.
Yeah.
And maybe there's something. We are making that kinship now.
Yeah.
We are making those sorts of connections, and I feel optimistic that we do have what we have within us to make that change. Yet it's very difficult. I mean, it does seem that there's a giant death drive right now in the society.
It seems that it's like, okay, it's within us, but we have to bring it out.
We have to bring it out.
In a sense. And so like I would just point out from what you just said, like you doing that is how we know each other now.
Yeah. Yeah.
And
true.
how we've connected, and then how anybody who is listening to this at any other point in time is able to connect with these ideas in this sort of way, and that chain goes around, so that to me is the most tangible thing that we can do, is to try to bring that understanding and that experience of the connectivity, the interconnectivity, and the relations that we all share with all out in some way, And
yeah, I agree. I think we totally have everything in us right now to make that change. But at the same time, I think that once we are able to make that change, we will be at a higher state of mind, just because we're, more in tune with nature, we're more in tune with ourselves. And I would describe a higher state of mind as like an evolution. Like that's our next stage, like kind of a thing. So like it's an evolution that wouldn't just like happen to us. It's more of an evolution that we would have to actively work towards. And I guess that's, well, we have a pretty crazy minds, and we're like capable of talking about this and talking about all of this and having shared thoughts and so much just wild stuff. It's pretty crazy what we're capable of doing, but at the same time we are also just trying to like push things to the side that we don't really want to see and don't want to deal with. And I feel like that's a huge problem that we have right now. And it's a hard, you don't want to deal with something. I completely like, I push things aside too, and it's just like what we do, and it's easier for us. But I think like we kind of just need to come together and realize like this is our home that we are talking about here, and it's a absolutely amazing place, and we should do everything we possibly can to preserve it. And so things like nuclear warheads and stuff like that, it's all just like so just like, what is the purpose of this? Like, why is our research in technology and our like smartest scientists all studying war machines, like, and how to destroy ourselves rather than build ourselves up? And that's just a really kind of a sad thought process for me, especially during COVID, because it's just, I feel like we could be in the future right now with the technology if we had been furthering ourselves this entire time rather than trying to hide ourselves and suppress ourselves.
What's being hidden? What's being suppressed?
These kind of conversations, like, I feel like a lot of times, like literally, like, I remember like being raised like living in your van by the river kind of a thing is like something that is not like appreciated at all, and it's like something that's kind of looked down on. I'm like, that's just like of certain people, of course, and like that's like the people who are like go through the system, work your entire life so that you can retire when you're old and can't really explore as much, and so
that cookie's crumbling.
Yeah. But yeah, so like that's not, it's just not, like we're suppressing ourselves to further the system along, kind of a thing is how I see it, and it's just not really what I really want to see from it. Like we have so much capability, like we're so amazing, we're so capable of doing things, and we're so adaptive, and I'd like to see us like do that in a more, I mean, like we are being progressive in a lot of places, but like this side to us that's also the biggest side to us, because that's where the money is, and that's like what makes the side, is super powerful, because that's where all the money flow is. And it's kind of sad to see that money and other things have just turned us into more and more selfish and less caring and empathetic of our surroundings. It's just hard to see and witness.
You feel as you're connected, you feel more empathetic, right? With everything.
Mm-hmm.
And I guess, I want to rewind a little. You're saying about, school, you didn't feel that, you felt maybe, I mean, I'm very critical of the current pedagogy.
Yeah.
I don't believe that us using a model of old German scholasticism from a certain period is facilitating our real growth. And at the same time, these institutions are also beholden to the big money system, where we value accumulation.
Yeah.
take our environment into the account. And let's not call it an environment. This is our home, like you said. This wonderful place where that's given us life. We don't always take that into account as values, as well as, our sociality, our connection together. And of course, during COVID, we're much more separate. But of course, COVID is also showing us how we're very connected too. Something, the virus is, we're always sharing viruses, aren't we? We're always sharing. We share the air that we breathe, that we're also polluting.
Yeah.
Incredibly. And so, to stop, and this is, people have been saying this, throughout my whole life.
Yeah.
I've been thinking about this since I've been a teenager. I'm 41 years old.
Yeah.
And there are loads of scholars. There are scholars, people living in the van down by the river who feel this way, artists, and so many people who have been talking about this for a while. And I think, I really do think the conditions now will push the necessity for all those reflections and all that work, and which come from realizations just like you had, just like I had, and just like so many people who are listening. If we just take a pause and go into our hearts and take a walk outside, we'll feel magic. But like you're saying, the pressure of money. If I don't go through this class and do this, how am I going to take care of my life? How am I going to take care of my children? But I think of people, I think there's an infantilism to the process of a previous generation saying, we could just worry about that money. And I think the generations now are realizing, wait a minute, actually growing up is recognizing the situation, because this is not sustainable. This cannot keep going as it is. The coral reefs are dying, and suicide rates are high. People feel alone. People are depressed. People are anxious, and so we all feel that, but when I see something like your shirt, I'm like, yes, thank you, somebody younger than me, thank you. It makes me say, okay, let me get myself together. let me speak. Let me have a little more courage. And so a question I have for you were you ready just to express this right away, or sometimes were you a little afraid to? Because I know sometimes I've been afraid to express things that might be difficult, knowing, because you said earlier, I'm telling people about this, but like, what are you talking about? What gave you the courage to keep going and keep to continue to want to express these ideas?
Yeah, well, it really kind of just was after, leading up to it, leading up to my source, and then afterwards too, I just really, especially afterwards, I really just enjoyed exploring the thought processes and really just taking a moment to think about what our home is, what is happening here, what are we doing here that's positive and not positive, and beneficial and not beneficial. And I feel like I like to express it as much as I can. However, like I said earlier, I'll one of my friends was only once did I have someone who understood what I was talking about, and I was and it was a similar interaction with you, and I was like, oh my god, that's awesome, that your understanding, and you realize too, but the majority of the time, with most of my friends, they kind of just look at me weirdly, kind of a thing, and they're like, what are you talking about? And it's not gonna make me stop talking about it. However, I haven't really talked to my parents much about it, because they're not really, they're definitely not at a place that they can recognize these sorts of things, which is sad to see, but it's just how people who've lived with the system and just gone with things and worked away all their lives, kind of a thing, just kind of what it leads to. And it's that's part of the reason why I'm so scared to just that's a part of the reason that I see the system like that's a scary thing to be a part of, because like you'll work until you're like dying, and for what purpose? So that later you can like travel or something like that, but you could do that now, and you could go like so many places and see so many things, and of course you need some money, but you can also just like do trips with a budget and not spend as much money as people want to, I guess.
Simplify, consume less.
Yeah. Live with a community of people, like communes and hostels, and meet other people who have like-minded things, because when you find people who also recognize this and are connected to it, I feel like people are happy to just share their knowledge like we are doing right now, and also just like be friendly, and you just find friends like that. It's really amazing to see. But going back to something you said earlier about like how everyone's depressed right now, that's also something I've been seeing and realizing and really sad about too. Is I feel like my generation and a lot of people my age, I don't know if it's older generations too, but it seems like almost everyone is depressed. Like pretty much everyone. I'm surprised when someone it's more surprising for someone to be like, oh no, I'm not depressed. That doesn't really ever happen. And I think that's a result of how we're living on this planet, how we're raising our kids, how we're like with internet and all the other things. Just it's not a good environment. It's just a hostile environment for someone to grow up in, and it doesn't make kids feel good about themselves. Instead, they want what everyone else has, or like they just learn to like not like value the right things, I'd say. Which is, like I said, it's really sad to see that like as a society we have gotten to the point that we're like so smart that we're able to develop mass depression. Like we are able to have so many people are able to be depressed because we have an abundance of stuff of resources, and we're able to like be able to kind of just like float through life. But that's like exactly the problem I see with it. Is, like that's not how it should be. That's not how I think it should work for everyone.
So when we're talking about just this conversation right now, the three of us have like minds, we could say, and I'm sure a lot of people listening to this do also. And I think that also the three of us, as well as a lot of people listening to this, have parents who are in a very similar scenario, and just to represent that age range. Like my parents are in their like late 50s maybe or so, and we're here having this conversation. That's fine, that's great, and we can like reach other people who are already thinking this stuff too. And everybody I know who's having this conversation in their own way is doing everything they possibly can to take that step back that you talked about earlier. And so to me, the importance then lies with trying to find a way to reach and communicate some of maybe and share some of the empathy or something that us and other like minds are experiencing. And so it's like that's what I've been just like going over in my mind is what that looks like, to reach somebody who is so deeply rooted in that idea of consume and have and own and the this and the that and to the point where it's become their lives in such a way, after so long, and that I think is terrifying. Like, I can't imagine, honestly, but like that when I try, it seems like it would be terrifying to then, you know, have been living your life for 60 years
Yeah.
in a certain way, as you know, as if it's a certain way because you trusted that, you know, line, and then everybody who's coming after is like, hey, like, this is not, like, you're hurting us
Yeah.
and everything.
Yeah.
And that so far for me in my life has not worked. You know, like, it's like they've been like, no way, and so, like, what does that look like to reach those people in a way, because they're who we need to.
Well, I could point to, I would say let's not be totally ageist.
No,
because there's
yeah.
plenty of people
Yeah.
in the older generations
I'm-
who've been, and I'm not talking about myself. There's plenty
Yeah.
of people. I've won my mother over, okay, and
No, same. My grandfather's like 85, and just over the past few months has started to, like, turn around in conversations with me, and, like, can actually is, like, listening
Yeah.
to me.
And there's older generations of scholars or people who've been done that. And if you look at people on the Sentinelese Island off there, they've never lost. They've been there. They haven't gone through this big monster machine. They
Right,
haven't
right.
gone through these endless wars and destruction of planets and all the endless murder and
Yeah.
you know, they haven't gone. They haven't been thrown into this megalomaniac,
Yeah.
sociopathic society, essentially.
That's very cultural, and so while it's not being ageist, it does have a lot to do with a certain age group within the culture that we're in, based on, like, generationally in our culture where they grew up and were heavily influenced, and because of the lack, like, the commonality between all of us is access to the internet at an earlier age than than people in, you know, in which we're talking about. And then somebody like my grandfather, who's in his 80s, was already an adult by the time this massive level of essentially, like, propaganda and programming came around. You know, literally, like, all the television stuff.
Yeah.
By road, in case you know, but
Breathe in the rubber and the fumes.
and so, for whatever reason, from what I've noticed just in my own family, is a difficulty between, and not just my parents, but other people of that similar age group, not just in my family, but, like, them seemingly having, like, a particular difficulty. And so I'm not, like, trying to be like a certain thing, but it does seem to have a cultural context, just because of, like, you know, everybody at a different age they're developing, you know, years of life at a certain time where a certain aspect of information is coming in a certain way at a certain intensity. And so
All right. So reach the kids is, in a sense, because, like, all right, I'm getting old, I'm gonna die. I mean, we gotta make sure we all don't die.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
and we're killing everything else. So, you know, I think it is something of reach. I feel that it's really, this is a point. We grow up and face it or not.
Yeah.
If the boomers don't want to face it, well, that's part of the thing. They're like, well, we're gonna die, and there's, you know, whatever. We got our thing. We got our loot. We got our bounty. We're chilling here. I want to watch Fox News or CNN or whatever and sit here and.
Yeah.
They and you know, and if people are comfortable, I mean, but, you know, there's large masses of people who are poor. There's people who are being bombed
Yeah.
everywhere.
Yeah,
but
talk
guess
about
what? You know, the
comfort.
truth is the comfort is no longer comfortable.
Yeah.
Everybody's trapped in there, paranoid,
Yeah.
and
Trapped in their boxes.
trapped.
yeah, well, how comfortable is that?
And you know, it's, I think it's a recognition of very material reality here in itself is interconnected, is interdependent. We do depend on people. We do depend on we're interdependent. We're working together regardless whether we like it or not.
Whether
Maybe
we're in the woods or a city.
we're in a city. Yeah, and there's an ideology that has placed us separate. We got to just have my nuclear family, and I got my fortress of my SUV, and I got my thing, and I'm going to protect this thing, and we're all sitting there like that. I mean, most of us are really, you want to walk the city at night, most people are scared. And who wouldn't be, because it's hostile, because it's cold. And that I don't think that's humankind. I don't think that's what we don't have to live that way. Of course, you know, I mean, even obviously, you know, we have to face our mortality. But, I mean, but the way that the system is set up, it's insatiable. It needs more inputs, grow. It's a model of constant economic growth. You have to put more in, and then the other one has to compete with the other person who's doing that, or else they'll get bumped out of the thing. They'll get bumped out of it. So it's set up to constantly, you know, pummel the planet and lead to the sense of disconnectedness, the sense of loneliness. We're all here together, yet so alone, alone in this, yet these wonderful moments, I certainly don't feel it now. I don't feel it at all right now. We're sitting here smiling at each other, and we're having these conversations, and we certainly feel that we're not alone, and there's loads of people who are going to listen. And I'm saying there's people in the older generation who will say, hey, be like, hey, you love your kids? You want us to have a future, but it's not even that. Let's have a present.
Yeah.
Let's be present.
Yeah.
Let's be present with what we're dealing with, and grow up, everybody.
Yeah, seriously.
Yeah, please.
Come on, we're all trying here, and we actually need all to try.
Yeah.
That's the thing. It's like, with like the fact of the matter is that, like, yeah, it's like we can just turn around. We can stop looking at the people older than us, and then like just focus on who's here and who's younger, and if they want to be over there, that's okay, but we're all in the same boat, and so it, like,
yeah. And I'm saying the elders have guided, my elders who I look up to have been have communicated these ideas to me and continue to, and I continue to look to them for wisdom. And that's one thing, is we do have access to them. They do exist out there.
Yeah.
These elders are there, and we need that intergenerational connection. We do. Yet at the same time, I do think it's, obviously in the 60s, for all its imperfections, it was the younger people who pushed things forward.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. And the civil rights movement happened. And incompletely, and yet these things can happen, and I see it happening. And so instead of feeling depressed, everybody, get off your butts. Make a shirt. Design something to communicate your heart's ideas, whatever it is. If you're gifted with words, use your words. If all you do is run, and while you run, organize a run that connects everybody to the environment. I play music, I speak, I write. And just today, someone was talking to me about, another issue. Someone in the older generation, when I was sitting at a cafe, I had some books out and I was reading, and I must have looked pensive, sipping my coffee. And this is someone older than me who was like, oh, Bob, if you write things, I know you're a musician. I have my banjo sitting there. He's like, you need to do something. You need to write a song, man. He's like, when in my generation, it was Bob Dylan who inspired all of us to do something. And he was talking about, for example, he was seeing me as a Asian American. He was perceiving me in that way. And it was like, we got to do something about this. And, and then I was like, what, you're right. And so I wrote a song about it. I'm not going to sing it now, but I'm saying, that's only one issue, but that's all part of the whole disconnectedness, And so I feel really grateful for Godzhai. I feel grateful for you, Jake, by taking the initiative to do this, because I could admit for myself, sometimes I've felt down. I've lacked the fortitude, and that's okay. We all feel that. And let's support each other. Let's come together. Let's do this. We got this. And I just want to thank you, Godzhai. And anything else? And is there more that you want to share? I mean, just in terms of, especially, I'm saying a younger generation than me.
Yeah.
Or do you, that you'd want to say, with your friends or people who are of your age, what you're saying there is. A sense of disconnectedness, a large-scale depression, and maybe a lack of hope, because maybe people do recognize the situation that they're in. And
what I see in my generation is a rush to get through life. For example, like you got to get through elementary school, you got to get through middle school, you got to get through high school, and then you go to college, and you have to get through college so that you can work. I feel like it's really apparent, especially like during COVID, just how many of my friends decided to pay their full tuition to go back to these online schools, when there's like really no rush to do that. Like we like, sure, like that's something that's beneficial, like it could be beneficial to you, but like I feel like it's a matter of like go rather than take a step back. Like that's what we just need to take a step back rather than go. And that's, you know, that's what I see. That's what I see a problem as, with like not only just people my age, but everyone. It's just go, not take a moment, realize our place here, enjoy our place here, be present in our place here, and just have a good time.
Yeah, I like that in what you're saying, that this evolution, this revolution can be fun.
Yeah.
And I have one more question. It was interesting. There's a philosopher that I've been reading a bit lately, Jung-Chul Han, who's a Korean by birth, but did his work in Austria, and he was talking that, you know, maybe in the dominant culture, and I'm paraphrasing here, that there's that you have to go, you have to perform, do this, and there's an excess of possibility or positivity within the system, and that one has to always present this sort of avatar, and this avatar of I'm doing well, I'm doing this, everything, and it's saying everything is possible for you, nothing is impossible within the system, we can do everything, and just go. And he's saying that because of that heaviness of it, and, you know, I would interject on our inability to see our limits, our terrestrial, tangible limits of what's going on, that it's triggering more depression, that we have to always see ourselves as functioning. Do you think that's part of it, or?
Oh, that's totally a part of it. I feel like, you know, like if you're taking a moment to yourself, you think in your head, oh, I'm being lazy. Oh, I'm like the things it's not even you think to yourself, it's kind of like spoken to you by like what you think everyone else thinks. We're kind of led by what everyone else, I feel like that's what like a lot of people present themselves in a way to be attractive to other people, as opposed to being attractive to themselves. Because right now, you know, we're not really in tune with ourselves. We're really out of tune, I'd say. And I just think that, like, that's kind of just, you know, very clearly a problem we have. It's just
we have to be the entrepreneur of the self.
You gotta milk every last hour out of your day so that you like get that $10, like your $12 minimum wage. Like, that's just crazy. Like the fact, like, minimum wage being so absurdly low also, you know, it's just like crazy that we like. I think there is something beautiful to like having like, you know, like trying to make the most of your day, but I think that also scheduling time for yourself is something that's very valuable and important to everyone, kind of.
I'm a meditator, so like one of my most important teachers, the I Ching and Tai Chi master Feng Ha, who I spent a lot of time with him, and, you know, he'd always talk about doing nothing.
Yeah.
But by that way, you actually achieve more by taking time. I'll just stand or sit.
Yeah.
And in that, you relax by doing it. And then you feel connected to everything in there. Like, I'll stand and meditate for a while. And instead of rushing around with this anxiety and this constant pressure to perform, maybe we need it's your right to be a little lazy.
Yeah.
Maybe we need to take back our opportunity. I really love what you're saying, because it resonates completely with, you know, what I feel. And then thank you for going against the grain.
Yeah, totally. And on what you just said, like, even the idea of laziness, you know, that's in a context of the milk every aspect of every hour of your day. Like, what do you, if you're not doing something, then like, what the fuck?
Yeah.
What the fuck are you doing? Like, you fucking weighing us, down. And how can we reframe that space and that care for ourselves, as focusing on our own health and well-being, but and the words get tricky sometimes, because it's like that you could be like, okay, I'm gonna be selfish and go off and just be by myself right now and do just what I know that I need to make myself feel better, to help myself feel better rather. But that's exactly what I found in my life to be what, like, to have a direct correlation with my ability to then be able to connect outwardly with not just other people, but like just everything. And so I just wanted to point at that, like, because instead of being lazy, as I have definitely been very lazy in my life, that's one way to see it, and now, like, that, it's like taking ownership of that space and not and embracing ourselves within it, and how important our own self and health is, and then therefore everyone else's, and that's how we can then, like, reach, like, if we're not standing in a sturdy position and we try to reach out our hand to help somebody up, we'll fall down too, and that can look different for everyone, I think, and I just think that I just wanted to, like, say, like, the self-compassion there, and like, just the permission to give ourselves for that space. So we've gone like an hour, and I really hope to continue this conversation, and off, obviously, and on recorder at some point. Thank you both. Fucking,
thank you, JD.
Yeah. I just realized I never got to answer your first question. Do we have time for that?
Yeah, we have plenty of time.
Okay, cool. Well, so the first question, if you guys remember, was how did I get the name Godzhai? So it's kind of ties to what we're talking about here, like taking a moment to yourselves, kind of a thing. I was up at the hot springs here in Santa Barbara, and I was just laying back, like submerged in the hot springs, staring up at the stars because they're so beautiful. And I just felt like I was in the eye socket of Earth, because on both sides of the hot springs it's kind of like in a little ravine, so there's plants on the top of each side, and those felt like my eyelashes, and I was in the eye socket looking out at the galaxies.
That's cool.
And I was like, wow, God's eye. Like, and then, like, thinking about it more, like, it really is kind of true to everyone. We are God's eye. We are experiencing this world. I believe that we're all, we come from the same place. Like, we all come from the same place, and that's Earth. And we evolved from the stars. Like all of this has, like, began so far in the past, and, like, once we were stars. And so it's just really cool to be a part of this planet. Like, I felt like I was a part of this planet, looking out at all of the infinite space, which contains so much of nothingness, but also so much of everythingness, which is just a super cool existence. It's just such an amazing place we live in. And kind of since then, I've started worshiping more, like, our sun and our planets and stuff like that. Kind of just even ourselves, like, I'm God's eye, you're God, you guys are God's eye, because we're here to witness this existence, and it started a long time ago when a star exploded, and and now here we are, like, and talking about these crazy
Yeah.
things.
Well,
It's
that's
amazing.
that's where we go from the witness to the participant.
Yeah.
And that's what we've been talking about here. It's time for us to not take a step forward into that, but take a step back and like recognize what that means and the gravity of that, and what we can all realistically do, within ourselves to then come outward and to then like meet and hold everybody's hand and try to collectively lift up and collectively hug and embrace and nurture ourselves and the environment in which we're in. Seriously, thank you both. I just want to ask one thing of each of you. If you each just maybe say a couple things you're grateful for at this moment.
You want to go first? I can go.
Yeah, I'll. I am grateful for this earth. I am grateful for all my teachers. I'm grateful for my friends. I'm grateful for both of you being here. I am grateful for my sobriety right now. I am grateful for the chance to be here. I'm grateful for feeling the love with everybody right now, and thanks, y'all.
Thank you. Those are very, very similar to what I'm grateful for. I'm grateful for every single thing that has led up to this moment, because we're living in such a unique experience, and it's the result of it's the sum of all the some of all the products, I think is the way that's said. And here we are, we briefly met at the farmer's market, and I ended up being late to work because it was just such an awesome experience, and now we're doing all talking about similar things, and it's just such an amazing it's just such an amazing life we live, and I'm grateful for our home, and I'm grateful for everything that it's done for us, and I'm grateful for the stars and how much is out there and how beautiful this entire universe and multiple universes are. It's just a very humbling and grounding experience. I'm very grateful for it all. Yeah.
I am grateful for the both of you, Godzhai and Lord Princess. I'm super grateful for this moment and this conversation that we can have, and this way that we can all just connect, and the expression and the courage that each of you have expressed that led to this moment. You play music in public. That's we both take it for granted because it's you've been doing it for however long, but that's that takes a level of courage to meet the world, and the same with you and your art, and to take your ideas and to put it into a physical form that can be connected with from others, and to be in that space and to include me in it, and then to include everybody, everybody who may be listening to this in it as well. Very beautiful, and I'm very grateful to be part of all this. Woo! Well, thanks
Awesome.
everybody.
Thank you. That was awesome.
That was Godzhai and Lord Princess. Thank you for directing your attention our way. It really means a lot. Until next time.